Australia, officially the Commonwealth of Australia, is a sovereign country comprising the mainland of the Australian continent, the island of Tasmania and numerous smaller islands. It has an area of 7,741,220 square kilometers. Canberra is its capital and largest city. English is its national language. Australian dollars is its official currency. It has no land bordering countries. Interestingly, Australia is both a country and a continent. The name Australia comes from the Latin terra australia incognito, which means the unknown southern land. The biggest cities in Australia are Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, Brisbane, and Adelaide. These cities are all located at the coast or close to the coast and are the only metropolitan cities in Australia with more than 1 million inhabitants. It is astounding to note here that Australia is listed on the 58th spot in the index of internet download speeds. According to NetIndex, Australia is even behind Kazakhstan, Madagascar, and Vanuatu. Australians may have the most venomous snakes, but not the fastest internet. Australia is also known as the sports capital of the world. The reason is, more than 70% of its capital participates in a recreational activity or sports at least once in a week. In the area, land, Australia is 32 times greater than that of the UK, almost twice than that of Europe, and almost equal to that of the United States of America. Australia has the lowest population density in the world, 2 people per square kilometer. Australia is the only continent nation in the world. It is also the smallest, flattest, and driest inhabited continent in the world. Australia Day, the national day of the country, is celebrated on 26 January every year. The day is a form of celebration of Australia's diversity and tolerance of different sects of people. Kangaroo is the national animal of Australia. There were 34,303,677 kangaroos in Australia in 2011 within the commercial harvest area. And kangaroos, are found only in Australia. The population of kangaroos in the country outnumbers that of the humans. And there are strict measures in place to check the population of the national animal. The longest fence in the world is in Australia, and it is 5,530 kilometers in length. It is called the dingo fence. The first cops in the country were all criminals. They were a band of 8 of the most well-behaved convicts, formed in 1789 by Governor Arthur Phillip. If you are interested in the world's deadliest spiders, you should definitely visit Australia. These spiders are available in the Australian Reptile Park, which is the only place in the world where these spiders are milked. These spiders are known as the funnel web. The highest mountain of Australia is Mount Kosciuszko with 2,228 meters 7,310 feet. This mountain is in the Great Dividing Range. The Great Dividing Range is the longest mountain range in Australia, stretching over 3,500 kilometers 2,175 miles. Uluru, previously referred to also as Ayers Rock, is located in the center of the country and is the largest alone standing rock in the world. The longest river of Australia is the Murray River with 2,508 kilometers 1,558 miles. The Great Barrier Reef in eastern Australia is the biggest coral reef system in the world. The reef consists of more than 3,000 reefs and 900 islands. The Barrier Reef is home to over 350 species of corals and over 1,500 species of fish. Australia is the world's largest exporter of coal. Sydney is Australia's biggest city with more than 5 million inhabitants. Australia's largest desert is the Great Victoria Basin, which covers most of Western Australia and South Australia. New South Wales is the most populous state of Australia. 65% of the country's population live in New South Wales. The largest state of Australia is Western Australia. Australia is the only country in the world where there are more species of venomous snakes than the non-venomous snakes. The inland taipan is the most venomous snake, and with its one bite, it can kill at least 100 fully grown men or 250,000 mice. The world's highest steel arch bridge, the Harbour Bridge, is in Sydney, Australia. It spans 97.3 meters and 134 meters high above the mean sea level. It is recorded in the Guinness for its span. Nullarbor Links is the world's longest golf course, situated along 1,365 kilometers of the air highway that crosses the southern coast of Australia in two states, South Australia and Western Australia. The platypus and echidna are the only two mammals in the world that lay egg. They are only found in Australia. Australians invented a lot of things, including the ultrasound, Vegemite, the tank, football, the refrigerator, the prepaid postage, the black box on airplanes, lawn mowers with engines, smoke alarms, aspirin, the pacemaker, and penicillin, etc. The world's largest espresso machine is fitted in Australia. It can brew up to 18 cups of coffee at any given time, and at least 5 people are required to handle it while operating. Australians eat 260 million meat pies every year, around 12 per head. They drink 83 liters of beer on an average per person in Australia. The world's only white whale, they call him Migaloo, can be seen in Australia. If you are lucky, you could have a beautiful sight of this giant mammal if you choose to visit Australia during spring and autumn seasons. Australia has a vibrant multicultural community of people from close to 200 countries. And over 200 different languages and dialects are also spoken in the country, which is very rich in diversity. Amazingly, during winter Australia has more snow than Switzerland. In 1902, Australia became the second country in the world to allow women the right to vote. There is a lake known as Pink Lake in Australia. The name of this lake, which is a salt lake, is named after its color. It is in the Goldfields Esperance region of Western Australia. However, the color of this lake is not always pink and changes as a result of the change in salinity of the water and the concentration of brine prawn in the lake. Lord Howe Island, a famous tourist destination in Australia, allows only 400 tourists at any time, no matter how many apply and want to get in there. In Australia, they have a town named 1770. The town is a 6-hour drive north from Brisbane along the coast of central Queensland. Spanning 2,000 kilometers from Halls Creek to Wiluna in outback Washington, the Canning Stock Route is the longest and most remote stock route in the world. A whopping 91% of Australia is covered under vegetation. With around 12 million square kilometers and spanning 3 oceans, Australia has the world's third largest ocean territory. In Victoria, Australia, only a licensed electrician can change an electric bulb. Australia has more than 10,000 beaches. And if you decide to visit a new beach every day, it will take more than 27 years of your lifetime. Wi-Fi is claimed by the Australians as the invention of its national science agency. If you use the word Barbie, a plastic doll for kids, in Australia, you might be misunderstood to be referencing BBQ, or a party that usually takes place in the afternoon. Gina Rinehart, the wealthiest Australian woman, has a net worth of $29 billion. She is estimated to be making $600 every second. The world's oldest fossil, with 3.4 billion-year-old cells, was found in Australia. The discovery was made by Brazier and David Wasey, a geologist at the University of Western Australia in Crawley. Australia exports camels to Saudi Arabia. The Arabs use the camel for meat. Australian sheep broke the world record for the heaviest wool haul from one shearing. It had 40 kilograms of wool removed from its body, and it took 5 shearers to get the job done. Melbourne, Australia has been ranked the world's most livable city for the past 5 years. Selfie is an Australian slang term, which was named the International Word of the Year in 2013. It was first used in an online forum by a drunk from Australia in 2002. And today, as we all know, it is a widely used term all over the world. The average poker player in Australia loses $380 every year, and yet they still play the game very fondly. They have 20% of the world's poker machines and less than 1% of its total population. The Opera House is an architectural wonder. If you open the sails of the house and combine them, a perfect sphere would be formed. And the inspiration for this kind of design came to its architect while he was eating an orange. If this might interest you, note that its roof weighs a whopping 161,000 tons. The world's first seatbelt law was put in place in 1970 in the state of Victoria, Australia, making the wearing of a seatbelt compulsory for drivers and front seat passengers. Captain James Cook was the first to land in Australia's east coast in 1770. And the British, with an intention to establish a penal colony, returned with 11 ships in 1788. The French also tried to claim Australia, but fell short of a few days as the British had already claimed their hold of the land. In the 1990s, the Northern Territory of Australia legalized euthanasia, but it was overturned by a bill passed at the federal level. In Australia, between 1838 and 1902, it was illegal to swim at public beaches during the day. Australia lost its Prime Minister Harold Holt in 1967 when he went for a swim and never returned back. The event was later referred as the swim that needed no towel. It is interesting for the kids to know that on 17 July 1924, the world's first Society of Cartoonists was formed in Sydney, Australia. It was named the Black and White Artists Society. Australia is the third nation behind the US and Russia to successfully launch a satellite into orbit. Australia is the only continent without an active volcano. Australia is also famous for an enormous depiction of an indigenous man carved in the desert. The drawing, which is over 4 kilometers long, can be seen in Australia. It is a tourist spot for over a decade now. The Great Barrier Reef in Australia is the largest organic construction on Earth. Queensland is home to lungfish, a living fossil from the Triassic period 350 million years ago. Western Australia is currently the world's largest producer of gold. Over 40% of Australians are migrants or the first-generation children of migrants. Melbourne, Victoria is the home to the second largest Greek population in the world after Athens in Greece. The Australian lyrebird is the world's best imitator. It can mimic the calls of 15 different species of birds in their locality. Canberra, the capital city of Australia, was built because there was a dispute between Sydney and Melbourne over becoming the capital of Australia. To settle this dispute, a new city was built between these two and was announced as the capital. Australia has the longest section of straight railway track in the world at 478 kilometers. The largest cattle station in the world is Anna Creek Station in South Australia at over 34,000 square kilometers.